We've got a candle going in the back. Are we a YouTuber? Welcome back to another video. My name is Casey Michelle, and today we're going to talk about what my actual breathwork routine looks like. This is a really popular question that I get, especially after I teach a session or teach a class. People are like, so is this what you do like every day? So if you didn't know, I'm a breathwork facilitator / content creator. And I've been practicing breathwork for about 4 years and teaching others to move through their anxiety with a lot more acceptance just by tapping into their breath. It's completely changed my life. I have plenty of videos I can link down below how breathwork changed my life. So in this video, you will learn exactly the routine that I do and when the best time of the day to do it is, for me anyway. And how I got started with that, how I got going with that routine. So if that all sounds good, if you're ready to buckle up for this little ride, I need a thumbs up. You need to make sure you are subscribed. Bonus points if your bell notifications are on. And the last thing, I want you to comment down below the first thing you did this morning. The very first thing. And don't lie, if you check Instagram, you better comment it. You better let me know. No shame, no judgment. What's the first thing you did this morning? Tell me in the comments. I'm very curious. So I do have a video about how I got started with breathwork. It's a little clip from my Patreon. The full video is over on Patreon, but I do have a clip of that already up. So if you want to check that out, I'll have that linked or it'll pop up. Maybe start there, then come back here. Either way. So I teach more sustainable breathwork, I guess is what I'm calling it. I am a big advocate that breathwork doesn't have to be this separate thing. So a lot of these modalities and healing things, we're like, they become a chore. We're like, oh, I gotta go do yoga. Oh, I didn't journal today. You start to like shame yourself for not doing them. We don't do that here. We don't do that here because you're always breathing. So the cool part about breathwork is that you can always do it, like right now, like literally. Take a deep breath. So in my one-on-ones, a lot of my clients realize like, wow, through practicing consciously these slow breaths and exposing my body to how that feels, I now just naturally want to do that even when we're not in the session. And so that is the cool part about designating that time of day to consciously sit with your breath and see what comes up and learn about yourself literally through breathing. It's the coolest shit ever. So we're rambling. What does it actually look like when Casey wakes up in the morning and does breath work? I will shamelessly also plug my morning routine video, the most recent one I posted. It's pretty much still the same as that video. I'd say some mornings I go to the gym if I'm just feeling extra like saucy. I don't know, just want to get into my fiery yang energy, then I'll go to the gym. But other than that, that video is pretty much like what my morning routine looks like. And so the actual breathwork routine, which is why you click this video, does not involve fast breaths. Does not involve Wim Hoff. I'm sitting upright, not laying down. In my group classes that I teach, sometimes it doesn't look anything like my routine. And so that can come off a little confusing to some, but as a facilitator, there's an appropriate space for an appropriate thing. And sometimes in groups, those faster breaths or even laying down is a lot more powerful, especially to somebody who's like new to the game. So every day my breathwork routine is at least 30 minutes, usually around 40 to 60. I will not totally lie to you at all in this video. 60 minutes has been a little difficult for me to achieve with how booked I've been with one-on-one clients, but we are changing the business model as we speak, and so Casey will have more time to breathe on her own. When I first did learn breathwork, I was sitting with others for 40 minutes, which makes it way easier when you're not alone, right? But by myself, I did kind of dive in, I won't lie. I did kind of go into like 20, 30 minute sets alone, but it wasn't necessarily easy. And I actually have another video, I'm just shamelessly plugging all up in this video, about my go-to tips for getting started with breathwork. And I will also link that down below. So how I typically start my breathwork, I get out of my bed, for one, because I need a firm surface. I don't like to be in the bed because I will easily just be like, let's go back to dream world. So getting out of the bed is essential for me. I've done it in the bed, but it's just not usually as powerful and as like deep of breaths because my posture isn't as upright. Sometimes you can lose the posture in the bed. So I prefer the edge of a chair. Honestly, that's like my favorite place to do breath work. I'll also do the floor or the grass or whatever, the ground. Yo, I swear it's been sunny all day. They be like, Casey's filming? Let's get a cloud. I use this cushion sometimes too. It's kind of like firm, so I might like sit to the edge of that. But that's a must for me to stay present. And then my actual routine typically always starts with healing sounds and 18 slow tumo breaths. So this isn't like militant, and it's not like every single day it has to be this way, because I think as you start your journey with breath work, you realize it's about learning about you. Breath translates to spirit, so it's a spiritual exchange within yourself. But this is just like what I started with when I first learned, and it's kind of just carried its way to where we are today. 18 slow tumo breaths resets the nervous system. So remember that, 18 slow tumo breaths resets your nervous system. So I always start with that, and in those 18 tumo breaths, I'm doing 3 sets of 6 healing sounds. So we're gonna shamelessly plug one more video. I hope this is the last one. But the 6 healing sounds, I take 6 breaths and I think 5 minutes in the video. We'll link that. Those are the 6 healing sounds I first ever started with, 3 sets of those. Today with my routine, there's a lot of healing sounds and toning and things, so it's not always those sounds. There's a lot more that I've explored since then. But those are like the standard 6 sounds that you can repeat 3 rounds of, for a total of 18 slow breaths. And that alone, if you're really, really in it and really, really giving yourself permission to slow down, and you kind of get into this like really slow wave in the breath, can take like 20 minutes. That is tumo breathing, and I typically start with that. Backtrack a little bit. I typically just kind of start with awareness. I mean, I'm just simply like, even in the bed when I first wake up, I'm like, feeling what it feels like to take a deep breath. Like, it's just become habitual at this point. Very, very first thing, literally the first thing, I'm like, thank you, God, and I take a deep breath, and it's just become I just always do it. So about like 20 minutes, some 15 some days, if I'm not really like slowing down as much, I will take those 18 slow breaths, and then I follow that by some type of steadier breath. Not necessarily Wim Hof. It doesn't always, I don't typically go that fast. It might just be kind of more, and I might do just 10 of those, you know, and then follow that with just like a long pause, breath retention, external retention, and just see what that feels like. Here's the sun. If I'm really feeling sleepy in the very beginning of my routine, I might start with that. Like, I might start with just like 10 steady breaths, then get into the sounds. And those of you who have worked with me, there's like a lot of different ways to do the sounds. You can add steady breaths in there. You can like have longer pauses. There's a lot of variations of the sounds. I know I'm rambling, but I just have to disclaim that. But healing sounds, a steadier breath, and then some type of isolated or alternate nostril breathing. So focusing on balancing yin and yang, feminine, masculine. This changes every day. This changes throughout your day, but you can notice right now, if you close off your left and breathe through your right, and breathe out the other side, and breathe up on that side you just exhaled. So for me, the left. You might notice a difference. And so when you breathe through that contrast, sometimes it clears up, sometimes you just notice the difference, but it is a really, really, really good practice for getting into the parasympathetic. Love alternate nostril. Honestly, fun fact, used to be the one that I like dreaded in my routine. I'd be like, oh, I don't want to do this, but it's so good. It's so nourishing. So either isolating, just working with one, with slow tumo breaths, with steadier breaths, with a blend of both, and then maybe switching off to the other one, doing that same exact thing, or alternating nostrils for a long time. Like sometimes just as long as it feels good, sometimes a numerical count. I think as I've gotten comfortable, I almost like kind of know what 30 seconds feels like, what 10 counts feels like. You know, like I've done it for some years now, so I don't necessarily always get really methodical with counting everything. That's another big question people ask me, like, so you count at the top when you hold? And I honestly don't. So that's the third section, right? Like the alternate nostrils, isolated nostrils. The last portion, which is usually around like 15 minutes-ish, is kind of dedicated to whatever. Like whatever my breath wants to do. If I want to take big sighs, if I want to find breath to movement and do some circular breaths or like some cat-cow breaths, whatever. If I want to just be super still and just kind of focus right here on the upper lip and just feel the breath coming in, I feel the breath coming out like really subtly. Or some days I do like 20 tumo breaths at the end, or as many as I'm like comfortable doing. Just kind of leave the end as kind of like the freestyle. And that's usually about 45 to 60 minutes. I will say, I think it's really interesting when I first started realizing how that's actually not that long of a time. Like, it sounds crazy, and maybe the first couple of times is like, what? Because you're more in your head about the time. But when you actually start to do it, you're like, oh wow, okay, I could do that again. But yeah, that is my basic kind of like default routine. As I mentioned, this isn't like militant, this isn't necessarily like exact, this isn't like, this is the way. If you have a way that works way better for you, then I encourage that over anything. And also, yeah, my day-to-day doesn't necessarily always look the same. Like, genuinely doesn't necessarily look like that at all. But that is kind of like my default. Like, when in doubt, that's the routine I'm gonna do. It's the one I first learned. It's the one I continue to do. And if you've ever breathed with me, we've done it together. And if you are curious about actually doing it and like getting led through what that may look like and how that could feel, which is like so good because your mind just empties for like 45 minutes. You're just not thinking. I would be super, super thrilled and happy to work with you. Feel free to hit me up or message me or whatever. Check out the bottom bar with the links with all the shameless plugging that I've done in this video. I'm so sorry, not sorry. I will say, the last thing I will say, this video is longer than I intended, that you can know all the techniques in the world and still not know how to breathe properly day to day. So that is why I really encourage, if there's any video I shamelessly plugged, it is my top 2 tips to get started with breathwork, because in that video I really go into depth about how vital it is to know how to properly, functionally breathe over knowing any techniques. Like, cool, you can hold your breath for 5 minutes, but like in the car, are you anxious? When you first wake up, is your nervous system freaking out? Like, knowing how to actually functionally get a grip on your nervous system and rewrite those truths in your mind, that's the magic. That's the recipe. If there is a certain topic you want me to dive into a little deeper, please, please, please let me know in the comments. I would love to know. Also, don't forget to tell me what the first thing you did is this morning. All right, y'all. Until next time, I will see you in my next video. Peace.